public function. How y'all doing today? Is everybody okay? Yeah, good? No, yeah? Shut up, listen. Right, okay. Today I'm going to give you, I've got a little booklet here so I remember what the fuck I'm going to try and say. I said on Twitter on Friday, that I was going to do a quick review on the Steam controller. I recently, if anybody actually who's watching follows me on Twitter will know that I've got, put the pen down, I know what I will have tweeted a couple of pictures of my Steam controller. It arrived for me on the 10th of November, bang on when it was supposed to. Thank you, Valve. That was fucking brilliantly done. Shipped it from Holland. So yeah, so it's kind of this is just to flat out say this is not paid for. Valve haven't paid for this. Nobody who are companies or whatever or who I'm going to mention have provided me with any funds. This is not product placed or anything. This is just a gamer giving a review of a piece of brand new hardware that's just came out. Why the Steam controller? Well, for years as a lot of you know, I play basically on a PC constantly. I don't have a console in my house. My son has a 360. He's due to get he's due to get an Xbox One for Christmas. So he already knows he's seen it. It's just bullshit. So as I said, I got it on the 10th of November, and it arrived, unboxed it. It was great. It was really fucking easy to set up, which I'll show you later. So yeah, so the specs for the Steam controller are quite simple. I've got Steam's markety universe. It's store.steampower.com/universe/controller. Why did I get? Well, as I said, I'm not the biggest console fan. I play everything on the PC. I just think it's better. Just me, just my preference. I think playing on the PC has always been better. Graphics, we get a more polished game because you guys debug everything for us, which is great. Thanks for that. And for ages and ages, I keep talking about consoles basically because I use a 360 controller. The 360 controller was brilliant. It was so nice in your hand and everything was there. It was all big and buttony because they had to make the controller designed to aim at all ages. So yeah, they made it big and clunky and it was great. I love the 360 controller. It's fantastic. But Valve announced that they were obviously heading into a hardware market, which is a bit of a tricky jump for someone who's been famed for doing games and obviously Steam. And they've always been software based, so taking a jump to hardware is relatively difficult. So they announced the Steam controller, they announced Steam Link, and they also announced Steam boxes, which are just basically PCs that are consoles that are PCs. So yeah, it's Valve's way of getting a PC into that type of market. Now, obviously there's Steam VR that's due to be released, and it's being done through HTC, I believe, the headset. I don't know much more because I'm not a big fan of VR at all. But anyway, Steam controller. So this is mine. Say hi, Steam controller. Okay, at the minute it's turned off by that not being lit up. So yeah, so when you get the Steam controller, you'll get the Steam controller. You will get, let me go and grab it from the back. I won't reach because it's so far out. Is it going to reach? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, so you'll get your USB cable with this receiver, which has got dust on it. You get this receiver. Okay, and then obviously USB with a lovely little Steam logo on it. You'll get that. That comes in the box. Basically, I use the receiver and the wire, the USB cable and the wire. I use both of those purely because it means that I don't have to have that directly plugged into my PC, and if anything happens I need to unplug, I can just go around the back of my monitor and just unplug it. This is the same with my wireless mouse. It's got a receiver that goes into you. Do the same thing. It just for me makes sense that I don't have to struggle in the back of my computer and get everything that's blah, and it's just not good. So yeah, when you get your Steam controller, you also get two batteries with it. So when you get the Steam controller with two batteries, you need to then put the batteries in, which is dead simple. So I'll show you how that's done. That's dead easy. So basically at the bottom of the Steam controller there's a little clip here. Press it and the back just comes off. And the batteries, oh, where are the batteries? They're actually there and there. That's not an advert for Duracell. Duracell batteries are okay. Quite like. Okay, and that's basically, then you click the cover back in, it clicks back in place and everything's super duper. You also notice you don't have to have it on battery. There is a USB micro connector, not USB 3, which I was kind of understand because it's really new, but it's a USB micro adapter, a USB A, I can't remember, a USB micro adapter at the back that allows you to be able to obviously plug this directly in through a USB cable, which means you draw power directly from there. Then it doesn't have to be wireless. Now, I'm not always a massive fan of wireless stuff because when I started first using wireless was pretty crap, to be honest. Battery life was terrible. You know, you would get interference, but things with wireless technology with a lot of newer stuff is amazingly good now. So I'm not too fussed about this of being on wireless. I quite actually enjoy it. I enjoy the freedom instead of having my 360 controller wire creeping over my keyboard and banging keys when I'm playing like GTA or whatever. So yeah, so that's basically that, and that's basically it. To turn the thing on, you'll see in a minute, you'll hear it probably beep, I don't know. You just basically press that button and up it comes. That's your controller turned on. Now, that's it. Now, there is firmware updates when you first get this. Double check on Steam in the app. You will get a firmware update. Basically, the Steam controller doesn't turn on and off. It just basically deploys through the USB system wireless onto the device any firmware updates for the device. Now, the system have two firmwares. Your controller has a firmware, and I'll explain what firmwares are if nobody knows. This has a firmware, and the receiver also gets firmware. So they both receive firmware updates through Steam itself. So obviously you get your Steam client updates, your games get updates, your Steam controller will also receive firmware updates. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, a firmware update is basically a deployment of software that controls your hardware. Now, but I don't know if a lot of people do know or don't know, but every piece of hardware, technology-wise, like your keyboard that has an LCD display, your Xbox 360 controller, your PS4 controller, your mice, even your monitors, your TV, smart TVs especially, obviously, all have software that help control the hardware. Those software is programmed and deployed onto chips. You know, and then that's what a ROM is, which is read-only memory. So that's how you can get updates for hardware, because on the hardware there's chips that have software, and that software controls the communication and what happens and the basic functionality of the device. That's all firmware is. So if I mention firmware again, you've got no excuse, you don't know what it is. So yeah, and then obviously I'll pick it back up again, and to turn the Steam controller off, it will either turn off by itself, or if you are wanting to make sure your battery's okay, focus, hold it down, and it'll go like that. I don't know if you heard that or Mike picked it up, and then it'll turn itself off, but it will turn itself off on its own. Now, I'm gonna put up a picture now. Pick it up! Of the Steam controller so you guys can see a little bit better. I'll put it over my face because, you know, it's not very good. And I'm gonna, fuck it, I'm not gonna put it up. Fuck the picture, I'll show you directly. Okay, so let's go from the underside forward. Okay, so the underside of your Steam controller, you have on the paddles two triggers. Okay, this is one other thing that makes the Steam controller unique. You've got two triggers. Okay, you've also got here another set of triggers which also have a button clicks in them. So hang on, you hear that? And then you've also got your shoulder buttons at the top. Okay, so this covers every console that's every console controller that's ever been made. Every controller that's allowed, you always have triggers and there, but these triggers also have buttons in them. You've got, as I said, you've got the buttons here, you've got your shoulder buttons there. On the top of the controller, obviously in big picture mode, and only in big picture mode, when you press the Steam button in the middle, that will open and close your Steam. Oh, why am I doing that? You can't fucking see it. It will open and close the Steam overlay, okay? These two buttons here, next to them, I'll try and get my fingers in the way. These two buttons here, those two are also the same start pause buttons that you get on the 360. I'll use that as a reference because this is probably more like it. You do have only one analog stick. Your other analog stick is controlled by this. This is your mouse touchpad. Now, this is what makes the Steam controller unique against everything else. This is your controller but it's also your mouse. This thing will act like your mouse. For instance, on here, this, you can move it around and move your mouse cursor around. Now, nothing will see on screen because I don't record any mouse capture or anything like that, and plus I'm not playing a game. But you'll see things when I'm in Rocket League or anything like that, and I'm moving around. From future on, this is literally what I'm doing. I am literally using this here to look around my mouse. This transfers to other games. This is every game that will have this. This will do the mouse inputs and control. This is also a push button. Okay, next one here. This is also another button, but it is also your D-pad. So it knows where, when you touch this pad on here, what part of the D-pad to call. Now, the other unique thing I've discovered, which is fucking brilliant, and this is in particular for case that games that have chat systems like Rocket League's chat system, you can literally press, go along and up. So I'll do it again. You can press along and up, and it will translate what you've pressed. It will automatically translate. So if I was to go it would go, oh, sorry, or if I was to go down, it would then say sorry. That's really massively intuitive. And I think that's a fantastic feature. Where in my head. And then obviously here, you've got buttons. So you get your standard buttons in the Xbox style. Not in the PS4 style, because nobody understands the PS4 controller buttons because they don't make sense. Sony changed them. So yeah, you got your Y, B, A, and X. Okay, exact same configuration that's on the Xbox 360 controller. So guys, you should have no problems transferring to this. Now, that's like all the textbooks. On design and interface, look and feel, I'm not 100% sold on its look. It looks really bulky. But it's actually not. It's really weird. It's really nice, but at the same time, it looks kind of like. So look at the three main controllers out here, which is now this one, the 360 controller, and the PS4 controller. For me, the PS4 is like the cousin that nobody talks about. I don't think it's really pretty. It's not designed nice. The 360 controller is really nice. The three main controllers. There's the Xbox One controller as well, which is basically the Xbox One and the 360 controller. Really, I'm not going to distinguish between the two, to be honest. Other than a design update and a couple of bits and bobs and two tech improvement, they're basically the same controller. There's no real difference between the two. The PS4 controller is really good because it has that touchpad in it, which is fantastic, and that's really good. But the PS4 is not comfortable. It's not really ergonomic. Especially the PS3 one was awful for that. But the 360 one you can hold in your hand all day. Now, when I got this, the first thing I noticed when I got this, and this is going to be like a couple of issues that I found with the controller. It's weird. Valve stated this in marketing when they originally announced it and people started testing and playing with it. It's weird. It doesn't feel like any other controller you use. You can switch from the 360 PS4 controller relatively easily. This is a lot harder to switch to because it's so different, because we've only got one analog. All the others have two. You've got your mouse functionality up here. Your D-pad's much bigger in here. The whole controller acts like a mouse. You've only got one analog. The buttons are more centralized. But that's nothing to do with the controller. That is not the controller's fault. The controller is fantastic, guys. It really is good. The problem is in what we call memory management, or finger memory. When you play in a controller, the first time you play a controller, you're always going to be to find out where the buttons is the first time you ever use a controller. Exactly the same situation is when you transfer from one of the other controllers onto this. You will find it difficult. It took me a couple of days to get used to it. And yeah, it did. It took me a couple of days to get used to it, and I'm still getting used to it now. And that's me had it 4 days as of today, because it's now the 14th. The setup system's really easy. Setup's such a piece of piss. The best way to set it up when you first get hold of it is to go into big picture mode in Steam. As soon as you go into big picture mode, that's when you will get your firmware update. Okay, to get into big picture mode in Steam, let me click to it. On Steam at the top, as long as you're on the latest client, The top right hand corner, you're going to have your maximize, minimize, and your close. To the left of those, in between your account name and your messages, you should have a VR box and the controller picture. Okay, which is the standard controller D-pad looking thing. Press that, and that will put Steam into big picture mode. When you go to big picture mode, Steam will then automatically, and it did for me, check for updates, and it will tell you that you have a firmware update for your Steam controller. Okay, when you go into the Steam controller, you also need to go into the settings. In the bottom left-hand corner, there's a controller section which would have been added. In there, you need to add your Steam controller to big picture. That locks your Steam controller to your client, and your big picture mode, and everything will work from there. It's dead easy. Hopefully on that side over here, I did record doing the adding it to the client thing, not the firmware update, because the minute I plugged it in and put big picture mode on, I got it. So over here is going to be a little video. I'm going to stick on that side. Everything's reversed to my camera in that side that will have that will have a little quick, like 10 seconds to do, and that will show you how to set it up. The controller mode only has one configuration, which is desktop configuration. I believe more configurations are coming in, and I understand that you should be able to download. So you should be able to add a configuration for the controller for any game you play. I don't understand if that's right now, but I believe that obviously Valve are going to have to be working on that. So how do I feel about the controller itself? In all honesty, I really like it. It's been a weird transition, and it still is a kind of transition that's still going on, but I really like it. I think that one of the biggest things is when you physically hold it. Because of the design of these ends, you know you're holding it. If you know what I mean, it feels like you're holding something in your hand. Unlike the 360 controller, which is really flat and it just sits there, this feels like you've gripped something. It forces your hand into another position to be comfortable on it, which helps put you into the buttons and the analog stick. And it's really worthwhile getting it. If you're wanting one and you're unsure, guys, head down to Game. They've started to receive their stock of the Steam controller, plus they should have shop models out. If not, Game should be quite happy enough to be able to go in and get hold of a controller for you to have a look at. Shop demos should be up. Game have started selling more PC hardware again. If people wonder why I say again, is because before Game, especially from where I live, it used to be EB, Electronic Boutique, and they sold PC hardware. That's died away, but that's happening more and more. So you're able to get decent PCs and keyboards, and I mean decent ones, headphones, all that kind of thing. You can get all those really nice, decent, cool things from Game now. So yeah, they've seemed to be embracing the PC again when before they hadn't. Would I recommend it, guys? To be honest, hang on. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I think I would. I think, hand on my heart, in all honesty, if you guys are looking for another controller, don't go and pay the 40, 50 quid that you need for an Xbox One controller, because anybody who's got a 360 controller, that's your next progression, is the Xbox One controller. Don't bother. Go get the Steam controller. The functionality and how it works and everything it does is so much better than what you're going to get from a console controller that's just been ported to a PC, where the controller is really simple. I haven't tested it in Arma yet. For anybody who plays Arma and interested, I haven't played it in Arma yet. As far as I'm aware, Bohemia haven't added support for the Steam controller. I know the 360 controller has support for it, but there is no controller support for the Steam controller as of yet, as far as I'm aware. Big Picture will show you on your games that you have installed which things will support the Steam controller. Anything that supports a controller should support the basic functionality of the Steam controller, because it's a controller, so that should be good. But I'm unsure. I haven't tested Arma. The only thing I really do with my controller in Arma is drive and fly. So jets or helicopters or driving tanks, vehicles, all that kind of nonsense. The only things I really use my controller for, because you need to have a mouse and keyboard to play it, because it's so precise. I feel like I'm kind of waffling on at the minute. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this. While I've been blabbing, there should have been videos on my, as you look at it, on my left. Yeah, that way. No, that way. On my right, which you see as my left, because you know, reverse cameras and stuff. Of me fucking around. That is me just playing games like Rocket League, NBA, and a little bit of GTA. They're all a couple of minutes long, each of these sections, and they'll come up on there while I'm blabbing on. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird to use at first. You'll get used to it, but as I said, I really like the controller. And I would recommend people getting it. If you can't be bothered waiting until December so you can get it, I pre-ordered, which means I got mine early, which is fantastic. If you can't wait, Game do have stock in. I believe they've started to sell them. So guys, you should be getting yourselves down to your local game store or anywhere else that's selling it. I believe it literally is, at the moment in the UK, only Game that are selling them. Guys, get stuck in there. Go and have a play. See if you like it. I would wholeheartedly say that I don't think you'll regret switching from your standard controller to the Steam controller because of the feature set it has on it. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't waffle too much. And thank you, Valve, for creating what is actually a really good piece of hardware. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. See you later. Bye.